John Knight and Rebecca Mihalic, welcome to the Business Advisory Show.
Wow, thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks, John.
Thank you very much for pulling up a pew in this very, very bright yellow setting here.
It's very depot yellow, isn't it?
It is.
Feels like home now.
Good one.
Right, there you go. Yeah, so, pardon me, we do actually have an important announcement that has only just gone out. I think you guys have pulled off a pretty exciting manoeuvre. Do you want to just share a little bit about that before we go on to the topic of business advisory?
Sure. So 4 weeks ago, Aptus Accounting and Advisory and another group, Results Business-Based Coaching in Melbourne, have joined Business Depot. Yeah, so we're now Eastern Seaboard.
Yeah, we're now a Brisbane, Melbourne, Sydney offering, as well as our legal, marketing, HR, broking service offerings.
Giddy up.
Giddy up.
Yeah.
It's very exciting. Yeah, you guys must be pumped.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I suppose I was talking to someone about this the other day, and I suppose this might be an insight for some of those leaders out there in accounting businesses. I said to someone, why am I not more excited about it? And I actually was talking about it from the perspective of, well, I always saw it. I could always see it coming. And so now I'm like, okay, great. I wanted Rebecca on board. I wanted Paul on board ages ago. Now we got it. Fantastic. Let's go to the next thing.
Yeah, and that's a great point you make. When you're hatching your vision, it's often something that you've been working on for a very long time.
Yeah, well, and now, of course, we want to make sure the customer experience is consistent across all different businesses and those types of things. But Rebecca brings an amazing skill set that we can now offer nationally as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So what is business advisory to Business Depot and to you guys?
Well, for me, I go back to just business advice. Like, advisory is one of those terms, those words, no one really knows what it means, but it just means that advice on business. So we tried to go away from using the word advisory and how we described the services that we did, but we didn't find anything better either. So we didn't find anything better to describe it. So we've sort of almost embraced it as a wording now. For example, Rebecca is our tech advisory sort of specialist. And then in the office, we've got sort of sale-ready advisory, or we've got financial advisory, which is your deeper insights from the numbers, because it's anything that is in advice. So it's more than just interpreting legislation. It's more than just compliance. It is deeper insights from something that's going on in a business, whether it be tech or whatever else.
Absolutely. When you have that opportunity to take a client's data and turn it into something more meaningful than a tax return, in whatever form that is, you're providing advice. And I think a lot of accountants are already doing it and don't realise, and are definitely not charging for it.
Yeah, that's a good point. And so it's not this scary abyss business advisory. It's a topic that is being, I guess, almost getting spooky because it seems to be so important, but really it's common sense customer service in many ways, right?
Absolutely. And I actually think some of the smaller firms are a little bit better poised to give some of these business advisory, because a lot of it's around running a business. So when you're a smaller practice or even a mid-sized practice, you're running a business, so you know firsthand what the challenges are that you're having, and your clients are having those challenges too.
Yeah, absolutely.
I love the idea of advisory being very, very specialist and being very, very niched. So because we do a lot of work within the real estate industry, we can provide deeper insights around someone's business if they're a real estate agent. And so advisory could be your medical specialist or real estate specialist or building and construction specialist, those deeper insights that you can give to people.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's so much talk about the so-called compliance, the disappearance of or death of, and which I'm sure we all disagree with. But what is the conundrum in terms of compliance versus advisory? How do you guys see that?
I don't think there's a conundrum with it. Advisory is an additional service that you can offer if you're a tax agent or an accountant on top of preparing your actual legislative requirements, so around your tax returns, your BASs and things like that. They're not going to go away anytime soon, maybe never. So our legislation in Australia is incredibly complicated. It requires a degree and continued education just to be able to prepare some of these documents. Some of it's getting simpler through MyGov, but we've had just as many clients who took on their own initially and then brought it back to us because it just got too hard, and we got better results. And even in itself, that's tax advisory.
Yeah. Well, I think it comes down to trust. So like even if it's automated, even if our data is going automatically to the tax office or something or other, there will always be an opportunity to review it. There will always be an opportunity to check the numbers and, okay, the data that went across is not right, so you fix it up. And I feel we're some time off before we trust the data that automatically goes across. I do think we're making good inroads in removing some of the burden of compliance. Like, I would love for my BASs to be automated for our clients. I'd love for that to all happen in a way that my team don't have to do anything with it whatsoever, because then we'll get out there and we'll have some better advisory style discussions.
Well, the other thing too, though, is that we are one of the higher tax-paying nations in the world. And as a business owner, I ain't trusting no automated system to minimise my taxation legally, trust me, on that one.
Which is an opportunity, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
What's your favourite thing about all things non-compliance? So when we do talk about giving business advice and working with business clients, what do you love the most and what do you dislike the most, I guess?
From a service offering perspective, or?
Well, just in terms of what interests you, what fires you up and gets you excited.
Okay. Well, one of the areas that fires me up, and it's probably more from a running a business perspective, is that people side of things. So I always talk about the EQ versus IQ, the emotional intelligence sort of side of things. And one of the things I get excited about is how you engage with people or empower people to be the best that they can potentially be. That would be my number one, and my number two would be marketing and branding, and those types of things.
Whereas, I think my passion lies in that trouble-solving place. And that's how I've ended up in tech advisory, because so many business problems are systems and processes, or a data entry issue, or an automation, or even a people issue, not enough resources, and you can fix that with tech. And this tech advisory space has evolved out of me liking to fix people's problems. And that's absolutely what I love to do. And the great thing about it is you can do one big project, then move on to another and another, so it stays very interesting all the time.
Yeah. What has been your most valuable lesson in business as a business owner?
Not looking after myself. So from a personal headspace, mindset perspective, not giving myself permission to take the time just for me.
I think this is a common mistake, particularly in professional accounting, by the way.
Oh, absolutely, and I agree. That's 100% the same for me. There's not a difference. As accountants, we're inherently people pleasers, so we're always trying to take care of everybody else in our world except for ourselves, and it's a really dangerous place to be in.
Yeah. If you had your time over, I've got lots of little stories. If I had my time, I could wind back the clock and just benefit of hindsight, I would actually do some things differently. Is there anything that you do differently with lessons learned?
He's pointed it at me, Rebecca. Lessons learned. I'm actually struggling to answer what I would actually do differently, because all those things that I have done that failed, or all those things that I've done that I've tried and didn't work, I think I've learnt from that, and so I don't think I would necessarily do that any differently. I could think of some precise little events, like an event we held once that I didn't like, or something like that. But that's nothing in the whole scheme of things. Maybe, if anything, I would say I would bring forward some discussions sooner than when I raised them previously. So if I needed to have a hard, tough conversation with somebody, probably would have had that a little bit sooner rather than waiting for it to fester a bit longer.
Yeah, I totally agree. The emotionally taxing decisions are the ones that I think most people that I talk to would say, benefit of hindsight. My gut was telling me I had to act on that, and I'll put it off. Yeah.
What's your answer to that one, Rebecca?
When you reflect back, there's always these moments that you wish were a little bit differently, but the reality is I'm really good right now. So nothing, because I wouldn't be here in this space. And, we've recently made some huge decisions, and I'm so thrilled about that and excited about where that's going to take me. And, I might have a different answer for you in 12 months, but right now it's really good. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you think the industry or, accountants and bookkeepers need to be just a little mindful of in terms of the way it's trending and where it's going in the future?
One of the things I did a bit of a mini research tour on the industry about 12 months ago. One of the things I talk about is where I see the industry going, or what I identified where I think it's going, and that is that the big are getting bigger, and you've got this fragmented group now that are able to go out on their own. They can be one-man shows or six-man shows or 20-man shows, but with cloud technology, and here we are at XeroCon, being able to make it so that you can go out on your own so much easier. I suppose I'm curious, I'm interested, what's in the middle between the big and the boutique? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. It is easier than ever to go out on your own, which is exactly what I did. And I suppose if you'd asked the question you just asked before about my mistakes or what I would do differently, you know, if you'd asked me that 3 months ago, it would be I might not be on my own, or I might have made some different decisions about that. But that's led me to the decision to join Business Depot, because you get to a point as a sole practitioner or one or two partner firm or just something smaller, as you grow, the resources get really, really tight, and then it's more about not taking care of yourself, working too many hours, lots of different stresses, not a lot of great back-end resources, and being able to join part of a bigger group but still have some autonomy around decision making for your little space has been quite a relief, actually. Yeah.
What do you think is the most difficult element about running a professional services firm?
Ooh, the people.
My favourite bit and the hardest bit are the other people. Like, I love empowering people to be more than they ever thought they could be, but shit, it's bloody hard sometimes because of the frustrations of the things that sort of come up, because at the end of the day they're human. And there's emotions and there's feelings and there's different things that sort of get in the way of them achieving what they want to achieve.
Yeah, and having to strike that happy medium between understanding that it's the workplace, so focus on these things that we have to do, but acknowledging that everybody has another life and you can't just always dump it at the front door straight away. You bring that in, and being really mindful of that and having a lot of empathy in the office for everybody else, particularly in a smaller team where there's not a lot of buffers. That's difficult to manage at times. Yeah.
Great. Thanks for being on the show today. Final tip, what's your favourite 2 or 3 add-ons or tech solutions that you're right into at the moment?
You should go first on that, given you're the techie appy guy.
Well, mine, the techie appy guy. Mine are like my standard says Xero. Absolutely, it's like the foundation of everything that made what I do possible. And then the next 2, Practice, Ignition, now Affinity. Yeah, without those 3, I couldn't run my firm.
I would have to reinforce the whole Xero thing. We embraced the whole Xero ecosystem when we formed Business Depot, and we wouldn't be able to be where we are today if we didn't do that and they didn't exist. I would then say HubSpot. HubSpot's because I come at the marketing sort of side of things. We love HubSpot from a marketing automation and pipeline perspective. And then I would probably jump to Google Drive. And I know that seems very generic, but just the mobility that can provide people is a favourite tool of mine.
Yeah, I've come full circle. I was bagging out Google Drive 12 months ago, and then just discovered that, you know, SharePoint, Office 365, it's not, you know, the gold standard we all thought it might be at this point. Well, that's what I'm saying anyway. Yeah, thanks you very much for being on the show today.
Pleasure.
Really appreciate it, and we look forward to watching your journey over the forthcoming couple of years. It's going to be exciting.
Thanks, John.
Thanks, John.
Thanks,
Thank you. Cheers, mate.